What is going on, everybody? This is Kevin Shagrew. Welcome into another episode of Cleveland Sports Realm. I'm joined alongside my co-host, Jerome Pedikauskas. Jerome, how are we doing today?
Doing good. Exciting stuff going on here. We're talking about some exciting stuff coming up in the world of this podcast. So hopefully our listeners and viewers and all of people who catch us in our platforms stay tuned for that. But we do got some exciting things on the horizon, I think.
Yeah, we're hoping for a few changes coming up. Just thinking of some alternative things to do and things to switch up this podcast.
And keep growing and expanding and keep you, the listeners, entertained by us because we don't want you to get bored with us here. We hope that you still do enjoy the podcast and keep that going.
Oh, absolutely. And we very much enjoy our loyal listeners. As what they say in the biz, complacency can kill. So I'm going to switch some things up, I think, coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So nonetheless, we're still going to stick to our roots here.
That's
and that
right.
is sports and Cleveland sports. So let's get right to it. Cavs have had a week of rest.
Yes, they have.
But not for everybody because some of them were out there in San Francisco and Oakland and the Bay Area for the All-Star game. Real quickly, start things off. Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley won the skills challenge. If you folks saw that, Chris Paul and Wemby were disqualified for cheating. Kevin, it was good to see the Cavs win something like that. I know it's not that important at all, and really hardly anybody was watching with the Four Nations thing going on. But good for the Cavs to win it.
Yeah, it was cool to see. And Evan Mobley now 2-0 in the skills challenge.
Yeah.
So I guess whenever the skills challenge is hosted, which obviously is every single year, they got to figure out a way to get Evan Mobley in there to defend his streak.
Absolutely. And all four members of the core four have now won the skills challenge. Garland won.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
because Allen and Garland were on the team in 2022, obviously.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
So they all won. Garland did not fare so well in the three-point contest. He did all right, got to the final round, and Tyler Hero won. Average showing from DG in the three-point shootout. And then McClung defends his title and now has a three-peat as dunk champion. But let's get to this. The NBA All-Star Game was nationally very much criticized for what happened and what took place, the actual All-Star Game. I'm not going to lie, I didn't see a second of it on Sunday night. I had some other prior obligations.
Sure.
I was unable to. I did watch the Cavs stuff on Saturday before the hockey, which we'll touch on later in the episode. But overall, you see that the NBA doesn't really know what to do with this thing. And a lot of people were very critical of it. Kevin, what'd you think of All-Star Weekend? Your just overall general thoughts, and then I know there's a couple other topics you want to touch on.
Well, yeah, so I was very much looking forward to All-Star Weekend, and this was really the first weekend in a while that I felt like that, and I was just looking forward to kicking back Saturday night and just turning on and just watching some of the best players in the NBA just go about their business and have a fun time. I had no plans in actually tuning into the All-Star Game itself on Sunday because we all know that that's a crap show, for lack of a better term, typically. And from all the ratings and all the reviews that I've seen, it hasn't gotten rave reviews by any stretch of the imagination. And I think it's tough when you're putting the best players in the world in that position and they're playing a game until now it's up until they get to point 40 and the game's over. It just seems useless to me to even do this anymore. And I don't really know what the incentive is to actually get these players to play. I think it was Darius Garland I saw said that there should maybe get an incentive of $1 million to each player on the winning team. But I mean, what more money do these players need? Just go out there and entertain like you're paid to do already.
Money's the ultimate motivator, though, and they were all pretty on board with this in-season tournament, and that's what's the motivator there. It's money. They get a bonus.
Guess, yeah.
So that's the only thing I could think of. The other thing I could think of that would be interesting, and they did it with the rookie sophomore game years ago where they did USA versus the world. Maybe they ought to do that for the actual.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wouldn't be opposed.
Well, again, we're going to get to it down the line. Hockey seemed to figure out their All-Star game. I mean, you got folks watching, and we'll touch on Four Nations here a little later. You got folks who never watch hockey in years who were tuned in to USA Canada on Saturday night. Folks that never watch hockey and you make it for guys playing for the country. I don't know if basketball players are the same way as hockey. Those hockey guys took that thing very seriously.
Yeah, I think it's different when you put the country that you're part of. I feel like it's different when you put those colors on. You're representing where you came from, and the people that are with you, whether they were enemies, a couple weeks ago or not, they're on your team. They're wearing your colors, the colors that you basically, you stand up, you hold your hand over your heart, and you sing the national anthem. It means more.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't know what they can do, but I mean, they've got to figure out something because this, and no offense to Mac McClung, great showing. Some of the best dunking we've seen in years, but it's not a good look for the league when the guy who wins the dunk contest is not even on a team in the league.
Go straight to the G League right after.
Right. It's not right. And you got to get the star guys to do it. And I know that they don't want to. Now, I saw a little Twitter interaction. Yeah. I think that's a lot of BS, to be honest.
I think it's a lot of heat of the moment talk. Like, they're so excited about the show that Mac put on, and he's put on for 3 straight years now, that now all of a sudden it gets the people talking about, what if a John Morant jumped into the dunk contest, or what if this player dunked in? And these players are communicating on Twitter or X, and I think a lot of it is going to be talk at the end of the day. I think we might get one notable player that enters next year, but it's interesting that Mac said he might be done.
Yeah. But I don't blame him. If you're not going to pay me, why should I do this? Why should
they're paying him.
No, but not as much as he should. He made more off the dunk contest than he has in his G League. But it's
so he's making money from the dunk contest.
But it's still not fair to. It's like, in his point of view, he's like, hey, I can't even be a part of this league. And meanwhile, I'm like your dog and pony show once a year, one night for a half hour. I don't blame him for feeling upset about it either, from his point of view.
Yeah, I guess. But at the end of the day, we got a Mac McClung three-peat before a Warriors or a Chiefs three-peat, which is pretty interesting.
It is. And one other thing about the All-Star game, I know that you reached out to me especially this week, and you wanted to talk about it. Let's talk about LeBron. LeBron's stunt he pulled. I didn't like it, but I'm not going to steal your thunder, please.
No, there's no thunder to be stolen here. I wanted to talk about this as a group, but I just feel like LeBron James is a player who, for the last 20 years, has found any single scenario to make, or any situation to make, about himself every single time. You had to wait before, like an hour before the tip-off to announce that you're not going to be in the All-Star game because of ankle soreness that nobody had heard about from the last week or two, and then take a picture with your group, not even wearing the uniform or anything, so you got to stand out in the picture. This guy's made everything about himself since his decision in 2010. And 2010, and quite frankly, I'm sick of it.
Well, even before that, you could argue.
Yeah.
It was all about him. And
it's always been all about him.
I don't want to start a whole war here. I'm just going to preface saying this is going to start a war, but whatever. I do think LeBron's the greatest player of all time, but it's not always about you, LeBron. And there's some kid out there, or not even a kid, there's some guy who's been in the league for 10 years who's having a great year probably, who deserved it. I saw a lot of folks throw Norman Powell's name around.
Yeah, he's had a fantastic year, and it would have been cool to see Norman Powell actually put on an All-Star jersey. It would have been, but at the end of the day, I'll admit myself, I'm not losing sleep over not seeing Norman Powell for 5 minutes.
No, neither am I, but it's just a stunt by LeBron that wasn't fair. And like, to your point about the ankle soreness, he had missed a couple of games here and there for the Lakers, so you knew this ankle was bothering you for weeks. Don't go, like, whatever. You made the selection. Tell everybody. Don't show up and then the week before, the couple hours before, I can't play. It's not fair to Norman Powell or whoever else should have been on that team. I agree with you entirely. It's not fair. It was ridiculous. LeBron, you've been to this thing 20-some... God, I can't get my word. 20-some straight times. Let somebody else have a shot.
Yeah, especially if you're not feeling up to it. Like, it's one thing, like, he earned the right to be there, go out there, play for 5-6 minutes, whatever it is, I get it. But, just to basically say, I was in the All-Star, or I made the All-Star game for the however many year in a row, like 22nd year in a row or something crazy like that. But yeah, no, to your point, Jerome, it's ridiculous to not step out a day or two prior and let somebody else take your spot. That could have potentially been a first time and maybe only time All-Star.
Yeah, absolutely. It was unfair. It was ridiculous. And again, the guy does always manage to make things about himself. That's for sure.
Yeah, obviously left Cleveland, for himself to chase championships. Came back. I don't care what people say. He did not come back to bring Cleveland a championship. He brought back to bring himself a championship and to basically fulfill what everybody wanted him to add to his resume of bringing a championship to Cleveland. It wasn't about the city itself. It was about what added to his resume. Now, we benefited from it. Obviously, the only championship we've ever seen in our lifetime, Cleveland sports-wise. And
most fans' lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. Most fans' lifetime. Anybody under the age of 60, basically.
Yeah.
The only championship they've ever seen, or maybe even under 65 that they can remember. So, obviously, always grateful for that. But at the end of the day, he did it for himself and then left again for himself to chase stuff in L.A. and all that. So, it is what it is with LeBron. I mean, nothing he does shocks me at the end of the day anymore.
No, and I don't want to sit here and have a bash LeBron fest, but this was a low blow to the league and everybody else. No Cavs to talk about, but exciting news. They're getting their national respect. 4 of their next 5 will be on national television. So they come back as we record this late on Tuesday evening, Tuesday the 18th. Thursday, they play against the Nets. That's how they come back from the break. And then after that, 4 straight on national TV. Friday at home against the Knicks. Sunday at home against the Grizzlies. Tuesday against the Magic in Orlando. And then Friday in Boston. So 4 in a row. We are getting our national respect. And the only way to keep gaining that respect, you got to win some of these now.
Yeah,
the league's showing. The league's giving you an olive branch. They're giving you the respect. Go out there and win, Cavs.
They'll win a few of them. They'll win a couple of these big-time games that they're nationally televised for. Now, the one big one that we all want them to see win is when Boston comes into Cleveland for sure.
We're going to Boston, I believe.
Yeah, we're going to Boston. I apologize. But it would be nice to actually win in TD Garden for once as opposed to how we always get demolished there and outside of that Game 2 win we had last year. But yes, you're right. We are going to Boston. I apologize.
Absolutely. So 2 of those will be at home. 2 of those will be on the road of the 4 straight nationally televised. So thank you, league. The Cavs deserve this, and I'm glad to see it.
And they'll get to debut the new name of Rocket Arena, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to be ready by Friday.
Weird.
Friday for when the Knicks come in. I assume it would be if they released a press statement today.
You would think. I mean, it'll always be the Q, right?
I agree.
And I hope now that we're Rocket Arena that the Houston Rockets adapt Cavalier Arena if we're going to be doing this.
Oh, my God. Good Lord.
Like
oh, my God. All right. Moving on here. Not much more left to say about the NBA. We touched on this about a month or so in an episode, but I want to dive into a little bit of the Browns Stadium stuff. No, we're not going to sit here like a certain local sports station and debate whether Shedeur Sanders uses the Browns on Madden. We're not going to do that. And we will get down the line. We'll touch on the draft in April and stuff.
Yeah.
We're both Brownsed out on the field right now, and we're not really interested in talking about all that. And if you want to hear it, there's a certain local sports station who talks about it 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
So
we won't name them, but if you go by chapters, it's Browns something.
Yes. So you can go listen to them. Let's talk about this stadium stuff, which I find to be a lot more interesting and riveting of a conversation, to be honest with you, because this is kind of getting ugly. So a couple of cliff notes here. The Haslam Sports Group comes out and says they want $1.2 billion in public funding.
Okay.
The project is going to cost $2.4 billion
Okay.
for the stadium and
so for what it costs, the Haslams want half from the public
funding.
Okay.
So where's the public in the city? You know, the city of Brook Park's not going to come up with that money. So of course they're going everywhere. They're going to the county. They're going to the state.
Right.
They claim, and I have this here. I want to make sure I get it right. They claim that state and county bonds is how they want to generate the upfront cash to pay for things, and then use admissions and parking and income tax to pay back those bonds that they'd use for the upfront cash. Browns, of course, are saying it won't make a big effect on the taxpayers. That's, up for debate. Browns saying also the public should pay because it would last 50 years at minimum. Kevin?
Them saying it doesn't affect taxpayers, but also saying that they're going to use admission and parking taxes to that completely contradicts itself.
They also think that adding a new hotel tax, they think it's going to be on tourist stuff. Once that stadium's built, sure, I'm sure that there will be a lot more tourists coming because they probably will get the premier shows more often to come here. As we know, it's been a problem in the city that the big time concerts, certain pop star by the name of Taylor skipped us.
Yeah.
Wallen is coming this summer, so that's a big one. That'll be
that'll
good
be a big one
to get some tourists and stuff at the current stadium. But talking about this, you hear the county commissioner Chris Ronayne say that he has a lot of red flags about this and doesn't believe it. With all this being said, are we getting back to where Modell got with before the Browns left in the 90s? And I know it was before we were born, but I've studied a lot of that. I mean, this seems to be getting ugly. I think the Browns do have the support of the state. Mike DeWine wants to increase sports gambling taxes, which will hit a lot of people heavy because, a lot of people do that in their spare time. So, look, asking the public for this much money, I get, because it's not uncommon from NFL owners
right.
or NBA owners or MLB or whatever.
Sure.
Asking for this much public money. But I think they're going to have a hell of a lot more difficult time getting this public money than they think they are. And their whole thing is, well, this will be great for the fans. And, we'll get a lot of big events here in Cleveland. We can get a Final Four down the road, a big Taylor Swift concert, whatever it may be. But I don't know if the people in the city are going to be up for putting that. And now the city's plan to keep it downtown, though, I think is ridiculous because the city's crying poor out of one end of their mouth. On the other end of their mouth, they want to put up the money for this stadium to stay downtown where there's no place to put it. And the only alternative you have is destroy the airport, which is going to upset a lot of people, the airport downtown Burke. So this is kind of a really ugly situation that I think there's a couple people in town I'll give credit, not going to give credit by name, but there's a couple sources, go check Twitter, who are covering it very, very well. And other people are kind of glazing it over. But I think this is something that needs more attention, whether than Shedeur Sanders and whether he's going to be the Browns quarterback.
Yeah, and this is what I'll say about the situation because I don't know it as in-depth as you do. But just from reading this, if the Haslams want $1.2 billion of the public's money and the Haslams are going to put $1.2 billion into it, so they're putting 50% in, then they should see 50% of the profits. And the public should see 50% of the profits if that's what we're putting in.
Well, I understand.
I understand that's not the way that things work, but, I mean, come on here.
Yeah.
You got the public donating over $1 billion total, and obviously that's not for one person. That's across the public in general, how many counties or across the state, however many that
However
affects.
they generate that revenue through taxes. And
I better see it in the tax return a few years from now. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you're not gonna. We know that.
Yeah.
But I just think, and this leads me to an overarching issue that happens in sports. Why is it always come back to the public's responsible? I think billionaires should pay for their own stadiums. I have a big issue with that.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying though. Like if whatever you put into it is what you should get back from it. If the returns, if you put in 1.2 billion and it returns 2.4, then you should get the 2.4 obviously. But if you're only putting in 1.2, the public's putting in 1.2 and it generates 2.4, then you both should break even.
Right. Well, that's what the cost of the thing is.
I get it, but yeah.
And I get it, but I have this issue with sports no matter where. Like, these billionaires just want to take public money and, for example, in Buffalo, the Bills are building a new stadium. It's well underway. It's going to be ready in a couple of years. But what the Pagolas put in and what the state and the citizens of New York are putting in is ridiculous. I believe the owners are only putting in a third. If I read that story right in preparation for this, I believe I read there was only a third, and it's going to be at 66% on the citizens in New York. It's not just, and I don't want to just single out the Haslams and the Pagolas and Buffalo who own the Bills and the Sabres. Like, this is a long, deep-rooted issue with many, many years of this crap happening. But I've never understood why billionaires shouldn't pay for their own stadium. I really, it's a problem across sports that has just gone on for far too long, in my opinion. And I don't understand, and it doesn't seem to be changing. It's actually getting worse where the taxpayers and the public are putting up more money. Look, do I want the Browns to have a new stadium and stay in Cleveland? Of course I do. So am I going to end up, not me personally, but is the city going to end up, the county or the state or whoever, the public going to end up putting up 50%? Probably. It's probably all going to go down
Yeah,
that
it'll end
way.
up happening.
But I just don't like it, and it's just a problem that happens time and time again. But again, the Browns Stadium situation is really ugly because the city's fighting them that they're going to Brook Park and saying it's a violation of the Modell Law. The problem is the Modell Law is very vaguely written, so this is like a big issue that I think it's actually only getting uglier, and people are going to have to start covering it more.
Well, the relationship with the Browns and the fans, it's a one-way street, and it's been a one-way street for 25 plus years. You look at other organizations across the NFL, the fans give the organization money. They buy the jerseys. They buy the food at the games. They do this, they do that. Occasionally, those teams will actually give you a winning product occasionally.
Right.
For the Browns fans, it's not. It's a completely different relationship. We'll give you money for a stadium. We'll give you money for jerseys for the players that aren't going to be here in 2 years. We'll pay for the $15 hot dogs and the beers just to lose on a game-winning field goal by the opposing team. It's a one-way street with this team, and I'm sick of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what's going to happen is as soon as we put in $1.2 billion of our money, we're going to keep giving them money for jerseys. We're going to keep buying the food. We're going to keep buying the new designs, the new logos, the new jerseys that they come out with in 5 years. And in the words of Mayor Bibb, put a damn winning product on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the problem. You're asking for money, and it's really hard. And I get it. Like, they absolutely need a new stadium. They need a new facility. The current stadium is it's not. And I think I'm not going to criticize the Browns in all of this either, because the city's solution to put $1 billion in that current stadium, the ROI on that is going to be horrendous. Like, that place is falling apart
sure.
now.
Yeah.
Like, the city's solution is not good either. And I think the Browns solution is good. I think the Dome in Brook Park is a phenomenal idea. I just wish the Haslam Sports Group was picking up a little bit more of the tab than they proposed to at this current time.
Of course they should be putting in more, especially when, like, not to sound like a broken record, but when they're only putting in 50%, like, put in more and get back more. I just think it's a flawed system.
Absolutely. Now, what I do think the city's trying to do, and I understand that, is they're trying to get the Browns to pay to knock down that current stadium too. And I don't think that necessarily, second. I don't think that the city's trying to get the Browns to help knock down that current stadium. I don't think the Browns should pay for that though, because
they're leasing it.
It's not their building, but
yeah, it's like the house that we rent. When we move out, the landlords would want us to, I don't like this house anymore. Can you maybe take it down for us?
Yeah, it's not fair.
I rented it from you.
Right. I don't think it's fair.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
if the Browns do put up money to knock down that current stadium, then I think the public and the politicians would be generally more interested in footing the bill of 50% of the new dome if the Browns are willing to do that. So the Browns have to give a little bit. Look, it's gonna end up going the way that the Browns want it to. I think
it's gonna go exactly how it's written right now in the rundown that I'm looking at. We're going to give 1.2. The Hasms are going to get 1.2, and they'll get all the profit.
Yep. It's
going to happen exactly like how it's written right there.
Yeah, I would agree. But, again, I do think a good olive branch gesture by the Browns would be, okay, you want all this public money and you want this and that. Then technically under contract, you're not obligated to, but help us pay to knock down the current facility and help us redevelop the lakefront.
I guess, but at the end of the day, that's not the Browns' obligation.
It's not.
So, I mean, I think it's hard. I mean, like you said, yeah, the Browns, there's got to be some give and take, and it does seem like the Browns really aren't giving too much in terms of the downtown Cleveland area. So I get what you're saying there, but if there's no, like, legal obligation, I feel like it'd be hard to actually pull them in to do that, the amount of money that they'd have to put into it and stuff like that, especially when the Hasms, they're not putting money into anything unless they get an ROI. Unless it's Deshaun Watson, they'll put money into that with no ROI.
Yeah, we're not going down that road.
I just had to throw a slow burn in there.
Yeah, but again, I do think it's a project that I get where the Browns are coming from. They're like, this isn't just a Browns project. Like, look how much tourism it can, and all that is true. And we do need a venue. Like, look, what is the difference between Cleveland and Indianapolis? Not all that much. We're both mid-market, and Cleveland's even bigger. Mid-market, Midwest, Central American, Great Plains cities. But look how much stuff Indianapolis gets. They get Final Fours, they get Super Bowls, they get all of that.
Sure, no, I get that.
And I get that's where the Browns are coming from. Like, look, you should put money into this because look what's going to come back your way.
But do you think that would really go back to the city of Cleveland?
No, it goes back to, like, look how much more tourism money you can make and this and that. And
but how much of that actually do you feel like would go towards downtown Cleveland? I think that's where the line is that they're trying to meet on. Because they're feeling like if people are coming in for these major events and the major events are hosted in Brook Park,
they're going to stay in Brook Park.
They're going to stay in Brook Park. The people are going to talk about Brook Park as basically Cleveland and think of that as Cleveland.
Right. So that'd be interesting. Now, it depends how much hotels and stuff they bring. But, I mean, I don't know. You put your tourist hat on here. If you're only 15 minutes away from Cleveland and you've never been here, and let's say, hypothetically, you're here for the 2038 Final Four.
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
You've never been to Cleveland in your life, and your school made it to the Final Four. Are you going to think, no, you know what? I'm only 15 minutes. Let's catch an Uber up or catch a train up and go downtown. Like, you think...
There'd be a good amount of people that would do that for sure.
You would think so. So there is still ROI for downtown Cleveland, I would think, a little bit. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how significant that would be. You don't know if it's going to be the tourists that are going down there to check things out, or maybe actually stop in at a few places and try to get something to eat or stop and get a drink somewhere. I know for me personally, it's been a while since I've been to Chicago, but it's the first city that came to my mind. If I was visiting my cousins in Chicago who are like a half hour away from the city itself, they're in a suburb outside of it, I would probably make a trip to Chicago
downtown.
For a hockey game, for a basketball game, for whatever, just to be down there, even just to walk around down there and
go to the Sears Tower or whatever,
see the atmosphere down there again. I would absolutely do that. So that's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that I know. We were kind of waiting until we had a little bit of time, and with the Cavs not having games this week, we had some time tonight. So this is something I'm glad we worked in and got to discuss a little bit.
For sure.
And I know a couple of our listeners have reached out and hoping that, and we discussed this a little bit further. So for those of you who are interested in this, there's your segment on it. I hope you enjoyed it. That's our opinion on it. Obviously, we'll keep following this. I know the local news stations have kind of been all over this, and as much as we bashed that certain radio station earlier, their beat reporter has been excellent in covering this.
He has been.
Yeah, he's been all over.
He or she.
Yes. Well, yeah. He's been excellent. So give him his props there for doing this. But it is something that's going to be interesting to follow because time's ticking. Like, the lease is up in 2028, so you figure you have 4 more seasons there. But if you want to do this big mega project, shovel's got to go in the ground soon.
Pretty much as soon as the temperature gets above 50.
Right.
Consistently.
You would think it's got to be started by, at bare minimum, by
April.
By the end of, spring, summer. So it'll be interesting to see how this all goes down. Speaking of spring...
Well, before we move on real quick, it's been a while since I've asked you, and this will be the only actual quote-unquote on-field talk. We'll talk Browns, but I got to ask you because it's been a while. Who are we taking it to? Before we move
I'm going
on.
to say right now it's a quarterback. And I'm not going to say it's a certain one who's been hyped. The hype machine's been crazy for here, but I think it's one of those 2 quarterbacks.
Okay.
At this point right now.
My gut's telling me Carter right now, which is different from 4 episodes ago. I think I said Hunter, but my gut's telling me Carter right now.
Yeah.
It'll change up a few more times, I'm sure, before the end of April.
And I promise for all of you who love the draft, it's not like we don't. It's just that there's a lot of coverage on right now, and we haven't even gotten to the combine yet. So, like, when things do start...
When things are ramping up, we'll be talking about the draft heavily. We'll be talking about the later round prospects we might have our eyes on and things like that. We absolutely will be. There's a lot of time to do that, and there's good teams going on right now. We're preparing for, the Cavs are a top 2 team in the East, the number 1 team in the East right now, theoretically a top 2 to come out of the East. The Guardians coming off an ALCS appearance, they just ramped up. So there's more things to talk about than just the Browns draft coming up. Right,
absolutely. And it's not that, listen, if I could tell you, for those of you listening for the first time, go back and listen to some of our Kevin and I, our passion for the Browns is up there, man. We both love.
We like to think of ourselves as 1%ers.
Yes, top 1% of Browns fans is what he's alluding to.
Yep.
We are very, very passionate about the Browns. It's just there's a lot of talk right now and not a lot of actual facts and stuff to chew on.
Yeah, it's all rhetoric. It's all theories that are out there.
Yes.
So,
A lot of theories. So
which a lot of it's going to be theories, honestly, leading up until
right. But when you have
summer,
you have a little bit more concrete after the combine, and you have a little bit more stuff to analyze and go off of, and we'll get there. And we promise you, we'll get there.
Yeah, we will.
So, but speaking of spring and springing forward, spring training is officially in full force for the Guardians. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. And yes, as much as I love the Browns, I am one of those geeks who just love baseball. I'm a huge baseball geek. So just seeing the videos of the beat reporters from every team, of the crack of the bat, the pop of the mitt, guys throwing bullpens. I know how extremely baseball geeky I'm sounding right now, but God, do I love that stuff.
Oh, baseball season's great, man. There's nothing like the sound of the ball going into the mitt, honestly, or the crack of a bat.
Like, you're watching these guys take their live BPs, and it's just exciting. It really is, and to know that it's right around the corner. And another element of that is you look outside, at least from where we're recording here in Cleveland, we got 6-7 inches of snow on the ground, and you watch those guys down there in beautiful sunny weather, shorts and t-shirts, just it just makes you get excited for what's to come, and that's baseball season. So as much as we've criticized the Guardians, while they have spent a little bit of money, not much, let's not get crazy. Paul Dolan doesn't allow for that, the big spending sprees.
They have an option to spend money.
Yeah, but they did shop in the category where they usually do, the Dollar Trees of the free agent categories, and
even the position that they typically shop with.
Yep. And, squeezing blood from Turnip once again, and they are going to try to do that with the moves they made. Jacob Junis, 1 year, $4.5 million with, I believe, incentives to earn up to $5.5 million. Kevin, very interesting signing here that I actually, as much as I've criticized them, this is a guy who just seems like he would fit here. Super versatile, able to do a bunch of different stuff. The guy started. He's pitched in middle relief. He's done the long relief thing. I really like this signing because I think they could use the depth at starting pitching. There's a lot of question marks in the back end of that rotation, particularly Tristan McKenzie. Ben Lively, is he going to repeat what he did? That's a big question mark. Logan Allen was awful last year. What's he going to come back and give you?
Right.
Joey Cantillo, we didn't quite see enough. So this is a proven major leaguer who can start for you. If you don't need him to, he could do that long relief role. And the coolest thing about it, when he first met with the media, he said he was open to doing everything. I can't believe I'm saying this. I give them an A+ on this signing. I thought it was perfect. He's open to do a lot of things. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually love the signing. Originally, when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, another pitcher. Can we just get a corner outfielder or a second baseman or something? But I absolutely do love this signing. You get him for cheap, obviously to be expected. But he's a guy I personally would put him in immediately as the long reliever. If one of our younger guys like a Logan Allen gets off to a shaky 2-inning start, you throw Junis in for 3-4 innings, and then you get to the back end of your bullpen by inning 7. I love the signing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
And worst case scenario, if the couple starters don't end up working out, which I apologize to interrupt.
Oh, you're fine.
If a couple starters don't work out or one starter doesn't work out, then you can put him in as your 4 or your 5 starter, and I'm feeling okay with it. So I love the signing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing about it is, I was thinking, the Guardians do tend to take a very analytical approach to things. That's how they've done it for a long time. And, you figure, okay, the bullpen's loaded. Let's say that you don't like Junis's matchup. Let's just hypothetically say we're playing, I don't know, who's got a loaded lineup. Let's say we're playing the Mets. That's everybody's sexy offseason pick. And you don't like the idea of
Which is fair.
Junis starting the game against Lindor, Soto, and Alonso. Okay, well, let me use one of my great relievers. Let me use a Paul Sewald or a Hunter Gaddis or a Cade Smith to start, face them the first time through, and then Junis could give me 5-6 innings.
That's what the Tigers tried to do in game 1 of the ALDS.
Yes.
That's what they tried to do.
Right. It didn't work. But,
right.
But
the idea, I completely get what
the
you're
idea
saying.
is there to do that. And then let's say, Tristan McKenzie, we talked about it. He's a massive question mark. Nobody knows what they're getting from Tristan McKenzie. I did see in one of my Baseball Geek videos, his fastball in one of his bullpens is back to 95. Okay. good. Hopefully, for all things considered, Tristan comes back strong. Let's say he doesn't. You need a fifth starter, Jacob Junis. I'd much rather have him as my fifth starter than Logan Allen.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
So it's a very interesting signing. Of course, they were able to get him at a good price, but and overall, I really have nothing but positive things to say about it.
Yeah, neither do I. Like you said, I think from the get-go, home run signing. $4.5 million, and like you said, you can put him in at the end of the rotation. You can put him at the front end of your bullpen, and I'm feeling confident with it regardless. I think it was a very low risk, high reward move. Honestly,
absolutely, that's the way I'd categorize it too, and that's the way that this team and front office have prided themselves on for years. Low risk, high reward. They know that ownership doesn't allow them to do the high risk, high reward type of stuff. So
they have to go the money ball route. Like they really do have to go the money ball route.
I don't think, as we've talked about, and nobody's, we can hammer it home and we could sit here and do an episode slamming the Dolans, but it's been done so many times by everybody.
There's no need.
There's really no need. I mean, let's just put it this way. We think about the Dolans how most of you do listening to this episode. And that's all we got to say about that. But, this front office does what they have to do with the budget they're given, and this is a move that was, clearly very, very low risk, high reward, and smart playing into their budget and their means. No pun intended. Pun fully intended.
Yeah, 100% intended.
Pun fully intended as they play into their means. Another signing was John Means. So, little background on this guy here. A very, very good starting pitcher for the Orioles. Actually threw a no-hitter at one point. Very, very strong starter from the Orioles. A lot of people, however, were very unfortunately unfamiliar with his game because he happened to be a really good starting pitcher when the Orioles were in total rebuild mode and just terrible. He was the one lone bright spot besides Trey Mancini on those really awful Orioles teams before they went when they were in their full-fledged rebuild. So to continue about John Means, he ends up having Tommy John, doesn't really, comes back, pitches pretty well again. Unfortunately, things don't go too well. Second Tommy John. John Means is then, still going through that. It's very much, he did not have it till May of last year, so he may not even pitch for them point blank this year, but smart move. Because you get him for $1 million this year with a club option, which is key, club option.
Yep.
Because
we love club options.
We love club options because player options, they look at the money that we allotted them and they laugh at it. They're never going to exercise those.
Yep.
Never. Club options are what we need in this organization. Yeah. Trust me, Paul Dolan loves club options.
Club options, team options, whether it's NFL, NBA, MLB. I always love when the Browns, Cavs, or Tribe end up signing somebody with a club or team option. I'm always like, okay, sweet. It's up to us if you're back next year.
Yeah, absolutely. So Means, no matter what he does, I think it's a shoo-in for them to pick up that club option because overall I love the move too because it's another low risk, high reward, and quite frankly, ownership's not going to allow them to buy a starting pitcher, no matter who it is. Alex Cobb, if you guys remember him from last year, got $15 million. He's not going to be on Tigers opening day roster. Already hurt. Okay? $15 million. We know how this ownership is. They are not going to let them buy any free agent. So they've kind of had this adjusted philosophy this offseason of, okay, our budget doesn't allow us, from ownership to buy a starting pitcher. We need starting pitching desperately. So our best route is to, boy, the trainers, those guys better be getting bonuses because they're going to be working hard. I mean, they're basically turned into a Tommy John rehab facility, and then we pick you up, and then you
see if you pan out or not.
Yeah, out or not, because then we could actually, from what our parameters are, from our parameters and our means, we can afford you.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of that because John Means, let's say John Means is fully healthy and was a free agent. There is no chance we're even talking to his agent.
Minimum per year. Minimum. We're probably
million.
looking at 25 to 30.
Yeah, if John Means is 2018, 2019, John Means, you're right. Your market parameters are probably spot on for him. So again, another move I loved. Kevin I think you're in the same ballpark here.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, we don't know if we're going to see him at all this year. I'm hoping we can at least see a few starts by the end of the year, and if he looks good, potentially go into the playoffs, depending on how this team looks. But yeah, I love this option. This is clearly a 2027 move, or 2026, excuse me, 2026 move. And if he has anything below a 4 ERA, I think it's a win. I think it's a huge win, and you're getting somebody that you can plug in at the 1, 2, or 3 spot in the rotation. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with you. And like from what they're doing here, and I get it. Like the trainer, like we said, all jokes aside, the trainers are going to have to work really hard. I mean, they're putting their train. I mean, you got.
And let's take like the last year that he was playing, he had like a 2.5 ERA.
Yeah.
So Tommy John surgery. I mean, you're not expecting a 2.5 ERA, but I'm hoping for 3.5.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, I think. They first did this with Matt Boyd last year, and they were like, holy crap, this worked as well as it could have. He was outstanding for us. And they knew damn well going in, if Matt Boyd had that kind of year, they weren't going to ever re-sign Matt Boyd.
Yeah.
As much as I think I sat here on a podcast and pleaded for them to re-sign Matt Boyd, ownership's not going to allow for something like that. So, okay, so now you're going to do it with John Means, and you're doing it with your own. You're doing it with Shane Bieber. They would have never re-signed Bieber. If Bieber was fully healthy, they would have had no shot at Bieber. Okay?
Yeah.
So, and even still with that, they really shouldn't have got Bieber, because Bieber and them have spoken out about how he got way better offers, way more years, way more money. Well, unfortunately, you never know what they were to directly compare them.
Right.
But Shane Bieber on the open market would never have a 2-year, $26 million deal. That's a joke.
No, it's the same thing as Means. He'd be in the 25 to 30 range.
Yep, absolutely. Shane Bieber, had he had a fully healthy year, probably his comp would have been something like maybe a little bit less, not quite as much because he's a little bit older. Probably would have been a similar comp to what Corbin Burns got from the Diamondbacks.
Well, how old is Bieber? Because I know Means is like 31 or 32. I thought Bieber was around that same.
I think Bieber's 30 or 31 now.
Okay.
Actually, he might be still in his 20s.
It looks like he's 29.
Okay.
He'll turn 30 in May.
Okay, so Bieber would have got a comp for him would have been Corbin Burns.
Yeah.
Probably 6 years, $210 million.
I think that's fair.
Which would have never. So basically what I'm saying is we give them a lot of crap, like as an organization, but this front office constantly figuring out ways to reinvent themselves. Like I applaud them. Like they're
amazing.
2 moves that with their budget parameters were genius to me, you know. The Bieber and then the Means and then obviously the Junis, like, and yeah, like contrarily, you can probably look at this and say, oh my God, okay, well they spent $7 million on Seawald, they spent $1 million on Means, they spent 4.5 on Junis, they spent $12 million on Santana, and they spent $12 million on Bieber. Like you can collectively say, if you're willing to spend all that money on all these different guys, why weren't you just spending on a big bat and bring in like an Anthony Santander who got 5 years for $92 million? Like you collect all that money and you say, boy, we could have brought in one big hitter, which is what they really need too. But that's just not their philosophy they're going with. And
it's never been this philosophy that's actually kept this organization consistent. I mean, this is the most consistent organization across all 3 sports that you and I watch.
In this city.
Right. So I don't think they go all in just for a right-handed bat or just for a power-hitting right fielder and lose out on a couple more depth pieces, which are the reason that you're consistently able to get to the playoffs is because of your depth and how you run that organization. So if I were to pick one or the other, I would choose what we're currently doing.
Yeah, I would say so too, because last year, I mean, we saw it. The pitching depth was atrocious. Like once you were past Tanner Bybee, Ben Lively last year, until the second half of the year, you had literally nobody. Like Logan Allen was awful all year. Tristan McKenzie was awful all year. I mean, you got Matt Boyd, but you didn't get him until late in the year. Like
right.
Now you're thinking about it. You're like last year there were no options. Like it was like, okay, Joey Cantillo, we don't really think he's ready, but we kind of got to bring him up because who the hell else around here is ready to go?
Yeah.
Like this year, you're like, okay, let's say that Tristan McKenzie's awful again. Fine.
Junis.
We got Jacob Junis. Tristan McKenzie's awful. Vince Velasquez if he pitches well this spring, has been successful in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and other places around the National League in the past. Like they built pitching depth that's insanely crazy. There's a lot of questions, but there's a lot of, wow, if this works out, this could be baseball's best rotation type of deal.
And speaking of, not that this guy would jump into Phil in anybody's spot if they were bad, because I'm pretty sure he's going to be in the starting rotation anyway, but I'm really excited to see Luis Ortiz.
Yeah, no, I think he's absolutely,
I'm really excited to see him.
Like, they said when they got him, like their press release on him is he's in our rotation. Like he's not fighting for a job. Like he's in there.
Like 2 or 3.
I think he's squarely 2. Like I think right now
you're going Bibee, Ortiz,
Williams, Lively, probably McKenzie,
and then
probably to start the year.
Through probably by May, we're probably looking at Junis as the 5th starter. I would have guessed.
I would have guessed so too. Like nobody knows what they're getting from Tristan McKenzie. Like I know I keep repeating myself, but it is such a while because like he's
kind of the X factor of this year coming up. Like, to be honest,
yeah, I agree because we've seen this kid be like, holy crap, he's going to be our frontline ace starter. Like,
yep.
Reports have come out, they were actually close on an extension with him a few years ago. Like, as much as we complain about them not signing extensions and not spending money, like, that's one I'm glad that didn't work out.
Yeah, they just try to get to it early. They tried to get to Lindor early, but even they were like 6 months late on that.
Yeah.
He started rejecting everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the one that, if we're going to get into extension talk briefly, the 2 that they got to is Quan and Bibee, and this is probably the last chance for both of them because Quan's only 3 years away from free agency. I believe Bibee is 4. So if you don't get it done this year, like those guys are going to start sniffing their free agent dollars and they're going to laugh at your offers. Like even Quan, it might be too late already.
It's probably too late to get Quan on like a team-friendly deal.
And the problem for Quan is, extension-wise, like, he's such a unique player. Like, there a lot of times these
contact and good defense.
Yes, a lot of times these agents and teams are like try to use a comp to model it off of. Like, let's use X player who's like. But the problem with Quan is there's no real comp, and like your closest thing is probably Luis Ariz, but he's not nearly as valuable defensively.
Oh, not even close. Yeah.
So, and Luis Ariz hasn't gotten an extension yet. So, like, from the team's point of view...
Teams clearly do not value him enough to keep him on their roster. I mean, I feel like we're seeing this guy get traded, like, every year, and he's consistently batting 340 plus.
Right.
Like, I mean, you do have DH options. Like, do teams understand this? Like, you don't have to put him at second base. He can just be a really good hitter that you can bat at leadoff or at the number 2 spot and just keep him at DH.
Right, I agree. But, yeah, I think Quan, they got to push hard for that, and... Like, all the money you didn't spend on a hitter this offseason, and you should have extra money because I know you lost your TV money. I get it. But you should have extra money because you got to play a significant portion of home playoff games. You were one of the last 4 teams in baseball last year.
Yep.
And I know how the Dolans are probably looking at it. Well, we spent all this money on Santana, all these. But still, you got to do something to keep Quan and keep your own. And this is your last real chance because he's 3 years away right now. Okay, you got him 3 more years. He's entering his first year of arbitration. You wait till next year, him and his agent are going to say, nope, way too close to free agency. Like, you don't get a Quan deal done in spring training this year. I'm afraid to say it, but I'm going to say it. There's no Quan deal coming.
What do you think a contract for him would look like right now? If the Tribe were to sign him tomorrow, what do you think a contract looks like for him as opposed to 2 years, 3 years from now?
I thought about this the other day or actually today too, while I was putting together our program for this evening. I thought and I don't know if he'd take it because I don't know what he values himself as. And I know that 2 years ago when they tried, he made a public joke of their offer by putting it on Instagram and all that, if you remember that whole debacle. Right. I think a good comp right now would be after DJ LeMahieu won his batting title. Would be a good comp when the Yankees gave him, which is a contract that's actually weird to use because it's aged super poorly, and DJ LeMahieu's a horrible hitter now. But like when he won his batting title and he was leadoff for the Yankees that year and he got on base and he was a machine and he had a little bit of power, which Quan's growing, the DJ LeMahieu contract was 6 for $90. And I think that'd be a fair deal for Quan. I don't know.
Man, I think he'd be playing. I think he'd be taking a hometown discount if he signed for that.
Like that's a comp that I
$15 million a year.
like that's a comp I thought for in my head, but I'm like, even that I don't know if it's good enough. Like,
well, and when did LeMahieu sign that? Because the market's definitely increased.
oh
since,
my gosh, sure,
like,
that was.
significantly.
Well, he's entering. That was probably 4 years ago, off the top of my
Okay,
head.
so if he's signed for 15, then you're probably assuming if Kwon were to take a deal similar in today's MLB, it's probably looking between the 20 to 25
right,
million
maybe
a year
Kwon,
range.
6 for 120. I mean, like I don't know. Like he is your second best hitter, clearly. Like he's your second best overall player, position wise.
Yeah.
Clearly. Like you got to do it because, like even without or with Steven Kwon, there's so many questions about this offense this year. Like,
Yeah.
we just talked about it. They're going to have to pitch their asses off this year.
Well, I know, and we were just talking about this a couple episodes ago, or maybe even last week. But 3 years ago, we looked at this team, and it was going to be Naylor, Jimenez, and Kwon as basically the future faces of this organization. 2 out of the 3 are gone. You have to keep one of those guys.
Yeah, you absolutely do. No questions about it. Like, I don't know, like, and there's nobody else like besides who I'd be interested at this point giving an extension to on that team besides Bibee or Kwon. Like nobody else who's of the
Who
younger
just stands out that you're saying, yeah, like we need this guy around long term. Like obviously we need to see way more of Manzardo before we're even thinking about anything like that.
I'm not thinking about it. Like I could see
Bo
them.
Naylor, not worthy of an extension.
No, not at this point.
Rocchio,
Like,
way too inconsistent, was horrible until we got to playoff time.
yeah.
So
like,
I'm not betting on Rocchio.
but I could see them thinking about doing something with Manzardo because you remember when they did the Stephen deal, which mind you, he's coming back to the bullpen off Tommy
Yeah.
John. There's another who, if he's at the top of his game, he's another outstanding reliever in this
Yep.
super bullpen. But the point being, Stephen did his extension. That one was kind of a shocker. Like, I don't think people saw that one coming. The Class A one came out of left field, so they're probably talking to someone who we're not thinking of right now. Like, when they extended Class A, I don't think a lot of people thought that.
But you'd mean like a Cade Smith type of deal?
I would consider a Cade Smith extension.
Yeah.
I think I would. He showed me enough where once he gets to closer to arbitration, he's not going to want to do anything long term. Like they did a Clase and a Stefan deal when they both had like one good year each.
Oh my God, Clase is like on the steal of the entire. Like him and Jose are on like the steal of the entire MLB right now.
Just the way the
Clase
Dolans like it.
Yeah, Clase I think is making like $5 million a year.
Yeah,
Best
I
closer
think
in
he's
baseball.
up to. Last year was 2. I do think this year it bumps up to 5, and then like the club options are like $10 million
That's
each.
insane.
Like think about who do people often compare to Clase to? Like the other best closer in
Mariano
baseball.
Rivera.
No. Like right now is Edwin
currently?
Diaz.
Yeah.
Edwin Diaz's deal is for 5 years and 100. It's a whole $100 more million than Clase's is, and Clase's better than Edwin Diaz, I think.
At this point in their career, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's interesting too. One last Guardians thing here. First Cactus League game on Saturday, as it always is against the Reds, but it'll be a little bit different, Reds, as there will be a certain guy who was we all loved, and we get to know him, bald head, big geeky glasses, and he'll be limping out there, and that's Terry Francona leading the Reds.
Big dip in his lower lip.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So Tito will it's so weird to say, but the Guardians will take on Tito's Reds in their first Cactus League action.
Very weird to say.
This Saturday already. So
yeah,
baseball's here for spring training.
It's right there. Least. It's right on the doorstep.
We'll be talking a lot more Guardians, and we'll maybe in a couple weeks here break down the once we have a little bit of a bats to see who's doing well in spring and that kind of things right now. But it is great to have those guys back. Final segment of the show this week, odds and ends. I said we talked about it earlier. We are going to talk about it. The United States of America versus Canada in the Four Nations face-off this Thursday, 8 o'clock. So the day that this gets released, it'll be played that night. I'm really looking forward to this game. That Saturday game was awesome. They boo the United States national anthem. 3 fights in 9 seconds. The U.S. came out ready to play and defend America. And Canada, the super team of Canada, was not ready for the United States' intense defense. that was a lot of fun on Saturday night, and I hope it's a repeat again on Thursday, and the United States knocks them off.
I hope I hope it is too, because unfortunately I wasn't able to watch it on Saturday. So I saw a few of the highlights on Twitter. Was disappointed I didn't get to see it. I heard from everybody that it was way more worth watching than all of the NBA All-Star stuff, so I was a little bit disappointed I missed out. I hope it's the same energy on Thursday, maybe not 3 fights in 9 seconds energy-wise, so we can watch a little bit of hockey, but I do hope to see a little bit of action out there.
And there you go. The NHL All-Star Game was a joke for a long time. Have they fixed it in a major way?
Yeah.
Whispers, NBA, take some advice. They figured it out. You can too. But either way, yeah, so that's the first thing. Looking forward to that on Thursday night. That's going to be great.
It'll be a lot of fun.
As the United States and Canada are playing for their countries in the four-nation face-off. Another odds and ends thing. We've been talking a little local college basketball. We're going to continue doing that here, odds and ends, switching it up. Akron won again tonight. They now have the longest winning streak in D1 basketball, 14 in a row for John Gross and the Zips.
Wow.
And probably one of their greatest players in my lifetime who made it to the NBA out of Akron. So that's an accomplishment in and of itself. Enrique Freeman, I got to watch him play live at the MAC tournament last year. Boys, was he something special, big time player. It was his jersey retirement tonight, Kevin, and I saw that the Akron Arena, James A. Rhodes Arena, was sold out. All 3,500
that's cool.
tickets accounted for, plus 800 students, and they were lined up like an hour in advance. And we know how bitter cold it was tonight.
Yeah.
They were lined up in an hour in advance. They got, for their efforts, they got an Enrique Freeman jersey. But,
that's sweet. The diehard Zip fans out there.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So they win again tonight. They beat Northern Illinois.
Good stuff.
Extend their win streak to 14 in a row. So some good stuff going on down there, down south of us in Akron. And the last odds and ends thing, we go back to baseball. Boston Red Sox fans were all excited. You signed Alex Bregman. He's great, wonderful. You gave him a ton of money. I thought you overpaid him. That's beside the point. Oh, boy, we got a team leader. We got a batter who's going to just kill balls off the monster all season long. And, boy, we got a plus defender at third base. We can move Raffy to DH. All that except Devers not having it.
Yeah, very interesting.
Very directly was asked if he would move to full-time DH. He said no.
Yeah.
The media said, what do you think about that? He said, quote, I'm a third baseman. So drama early out of Red Sox camp. That's interesting to me because, yes, Rafael Devers is like our Jose Ramirez. Even when the Red Sox didn't spend a lot of money, they like kept one guy. Yep. It was Raffy. They let Mookie left, Xander left, all their big stars left. Raffy was the guy they chose to build around. So they do. Raffy has loyalty to them. They have some loyalty to Raffy too. But quite frankly, if Raffy wants to be a team player here, Kevin, I think Raffy got to go DH because he's not nearly the third baseman that Bregman is.
I 100% agree, and his bat's way more valuable than his fielding is. You know, I get the pride of not wanting to be overtaken or having somebody come in and admitting, you know, they're better than me, even though I've been in this city for probably a decade now at this point almost.
Yeah, I think he came up in 16 or 17, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean I completely understand that, but at the end of the day, man, if you want to actually go after some championships, you know, sometimes you got to put your pride aside. Take the DH role. Don't be as, not that Devers is like a horrible fielder, but just
he's pretty rough.
Minimize the liability out there and let Bregman take it over full time, win some games, and maybe go for a silver slugger or something as a DH.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe take that on.
Yeah, we're on the same boat on that one, Raffy. You got to be a team player here. All right, well, that's it for odds and ends, and that's it for the show this week. So thank you, Derek, for doing your good work on the other side. We appreciate it. Kevin?
Thank you, D.
Good, insightful sports conversations tonight. Talked about a few things that we haven't got much of a chance to talk about, so that was kind of nice.
Yeah, I thought it was a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope the listeners think that too. If you do, please like and subscribe. We appreciate all the support. Follow us on Twitter at CLE Sports Realm. And stay tuned because we do have some interesting propositions and things that we hope to get done here in the future.
Yeah.
So for Derek, for Kevin, for myself, peace out, everybody. We'll talk to you next week on CSR.
Go Zips.